Welcome back. So right now what we have is our nav bar, and then we have our this hero section, and now we're going to add our about section. It's gonna be like a simple kind of like boilerplate template for you guys, so you can add your content later on to it, but right now I'm just gonna show you how we can make these things work. So what I'm gonna do after the section for my hero that we made the last video, I'm gonna add another section, and this time I'm gonna actually use ID instead of class. So another way to target an element is by ID name. The difference between the class and ID is that I can assign, for example, this headshot class to multiple images, and then whatever styling I do for the headshot will be assigned to all the images that have that class. But with ID, I only can have one ID for one div, or for one element, I mean. So what that means is that if I go over here and I type section, for class, if you remember, we would do like dot class, but for ID we do this hashtag, and then we type the name for the like that ID. So this one is gonna be my about section, so I'm gonna do section hashtag about and enter. So that's gonna give me section ID about, and you could have typed this as well, just like that's easier, more commonly used version of it, and it's faster basically. So in this section, what I'm going to do, I'm going to have another container here. So what I mean by that is basically, for if we go back to Bootstrap and take a look at our I want to say components. Let's see, let's look for container here. Okay, yeah, you can actually, it was under layout containers. As you can see, containers are layout elements. When we are like trying to have our layout responsive, we put everything in container. Look at this Bootstrap website. You see like all this empty space over here and over there, or Netflix. There's this empty space. You can see like this, all these elements are inside a container. And what that means is that if I, let's say, make this smaller, we will always like keep some kind of like margin or padding over here that will, you see like it shrinks the content of the page as we make it smaller, and then at some point it will change the arrangement of the text and the images here, which we'll talk about that in a bit too. But what I'm trying to say here is that these are like inside containers, and the containers are responsive, making it like look like that. And you see this in most websites. Like if I go back to Bootstrap, as I told you, it seems like this one is also inside a container. Let's inspect it and see what this is. So I have sidebar, there it is. Like I have a container here, everything is inside a container, and so on. So that's a good way for us also to keep everything inside a container. If you look at our nav bar, we actually had that over here. So our nav bar inside a container fluid. We could have put this div also inside a container, and that might have been a good idea also. You could have actually added another class here and then do like a container fluid for this. And if we go back, nothing changes because we already had done a lot of styling for it. But what it also adds is this like little padding over here, like that will kind of like make sure that as we go smaller here, our content doesn't get like outside of this container, and we have like some good like limits for our text over here. Okay, so that's good. We can actually keep that container fluid over here. And then we're gonna do the same thing for our section over here. So we could have added this class also over here, like a class container fluid for this, but I normally leave my section as it is, and then I add a class over, like a div element with container fluid over here. And we have two different containers, container fluid and container. Container seems to have more like margin or padding to the sides. Container fluid acts better in like bigger screen sizes. Like this one is like almost, I think, like 2000 pixels wide. So, and this right here, you see there is just this little bit of space over here. If I go back to my nav bar and change this to container instead of container fluid, you see things got a little bit pushed to like to the inside. And to be honest, maybe this is better. You don't want things to be too close to the borders. And so actually let's keep it that way. I'll do the same thing with my container fluid down here and also over here. So I'll make everything container. Now if I hover over this guy, let's inspect it, and you can see like we have more margin. Now that's gonna add a little bit of like this effect here. Now our content, our welcome section here, container, is not covering the whole screen width, so we have like this background of a little bit dark ending here and there. So I would say maybe for this we don't actually give it a container at all. And so we have the dark over here, and as we go down to different screen sizes, it still looks good. Let's see if there is a point that it kind of like, no, it looks good. There is like no margin in the left, but that's fine. Again, if you want to, you can actually turn it back to container fluid over here, and that should be fine. So container fluid is also good for this one. Again, like it's your choice, whatever you want to. For this one, about section, I'm gonna go with container, and then inside this container, let's add like a section topic, like a headline. H3 I will use this time, and we're gonna do about. Let's save it, and if I scroll down, I have about right here. Next thing we're gonna do, let's add like some text over here. So under H3, I'm gonna add a paragraph, and then so it's gonna be a p tag, and I'm gonna give it a class name of about dash detail. So you can define your class names like this too. Normally dash, underline, or like you can do uppercases or lower and uppercase, which is called like camel case, Pascal case, whatever you want to do. It's fine. So I have about detail here, and then to add some text, you obviously in an actual website you want to have like a proper about text here for yourself, but right now we used it in the previous video, one of the previous videos. I'm going to use lorem ipsum. So if I start typing lo like lorem, I'll get this here, and once I click on it, I hit enter, I will get like a I would say like dummy text here that you'll know you will have to like replace it later on. And I'm gonna format the page. So Option Shift F or Alt Shift F for Windows. Let's save it. And now I have this text over here as well at the bottom. Now, the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to add a few images, and the way it's gonna be like kind of like this. We'll have like multiple images in a row, not text, just multiple images in a row, and maybe 2 rows of like 3 images. So total of, let's see how many I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 images. We'll have 5 images. And then there's a concept called not a concept, like a property or whatever you want to call it for Bootstrap. It's called columns. So you will have in each its layout. Maybe like a layout is better. So if we go to Bootstrap here, yeah, under layouts we have these columns, and what it says is that each screen, when you add Bootstrap, it will divide it into 12 columns. So you see here 1 of 3 columns. So each of these columns have actually like 3 smaller columns in themselves. I guess I hope I'm saying it right. I mean, I'm saying it right. It makes sense to you guys. But let's go back to code and maybe I try and explain it over here. So under my about page, I'm gonna add a container. So for this column to work, you'll need to have a container, and then you'll need to have a row. Okay, and so we're gonna do that. I'm gonna have a container here, container, and then I'm gonna have row. So the row is basically each row, and then we'll have column inside the rows. Okay, so I'm also gonna add another class to my container, just because container is used so many places, but I might want to only target this one over here. So I'll add that. I might actually not need that, but yeah, we don't need this because I'm not gonna apply any specific style for this. If I do, then I'll come and add it later. Now, once we have our container and our row, here is when we start defining our columns. So if I look at the code that I have, you can have like a div column, div column, div column over here. Let's put that back, put it over here, and then format. So I have 1, 2, 3 columns here. Save it over here, and then you see 1 of 3, 1 of 3, 1 of 3, and this works as you like. Make the screen larger, smaller. At some point, it doesn't make sense to have like all these 3 columns in one row, so we will take care of that as well. But right now I just wanted to show you that we have 3 columns. And then what I'm gonna do, you can actually define, hey, I want to have in like this large screen, I want to have at most 3 columns. And then when I go to like maybe this size screen, I want to have only 2. And then when I go to mobile screen, I only want to have 1 column in each row. So that's what we're gonna do here. So I'm gonna undo this, get rid of that, and don't get scared when you see what I'm about to copy over here. I will explain it to you. So there's a lot happening here. Let's actually get rid of all of it. So I have 1 element inside my row, and you see all these LG, MD, SM, and nothing here. So what we are doing here, we are using breakpoints in Bootstrap. we look at the first section under layout, it's called breakpoints. And it's telling us that Bootstrap includes 6 default breakpoints, sometimes referred to as grid tiers, for building responsively. These breakpoints can be customized. Okay, what it tells us is that, for example, here I have a call LG3. Now, I told you we have 12 columns. So if I want to have 4 items in one row, that means each item will take 3 columns, because 3 multiplied by 4 will be 12. So I want for my large screens, anything bigger than 992 pixel, to allow 4 items in one row. Remember, this 3 means 12, 3 of 12. That means I will have 3 out of 12 will be for one column, then we have 4 of these. If I go to screen size that it's in the medium section, like between 768 and 992, I want to have 4. I want to have 3 columns, because each column will occupy 4 sections. Remember, the whole screen is 12 sections, and then that means we'll have 3 columns. Okay, same for small, we'll have like 6, that means I'll have like 2, and then once we go under small, like the like extra small ones, will have just 1 column, because I have 12 over here, and that means like 1 will occupy the whole column. And then I'm also assigning another class to it, project, and I have a py for, this is another Bootstrap thing. P stands for padding, y is the y-axis, like above and below this element, and I'll show you what it is in a second, but let's see how it looks like. And inside this div I have like an anchor tag with an image inside, so nothing special. Let's make it a little better, style it. Okay, so I have this anchor tag and an image inside it. If I save this, now you can see this is my image. By the way, for the image, I'm using Picsum photos, like lorem ipsum that we have like placeholder or dummy text. There is also a Picsum, lorem Picsum, or Picsum.photos, where you can like copy this text, and every time I refresh the page, this image will change. This is just a random image that this Picsum.photos will give us. So that's about that. Now, if I go ahead and keep adding these, so I'm gonna do 2 and then 3. So what it means that for my large screen, where I could have 4 columns, remember 3 means 3 section for each column, that means I'll have 12 by 3, 4 columns. So in the large section and also medium screen sizes, we're gonna be good. All of these are gonna be in one row. Then as we go down, we're gonna go down to 2 in a row, and then eventually 1 image in a row. Let's save it. And over here, so I have 3 images here in a row. As I go down, once I hit 768, look at the pixel number up over here. So I am 768. Right when I hit that point, and remember 768 was the medium breakpoint here, it's gonna go down to my small, which means I have 6 sections for each of these like images. That means out of 12, 6 is gonna be this and 6 is gonna be this. So I will only have 2 images as I hit that breakpoint. Once I hit the 576, I'm gonna go to 1 image per row. So you can see I have 1 image per row. Okay, that's that. And now if you keep adding these, let's do another 3, and this is just 6 of the same thing. I'm saving it. And over here now I have 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 images. If I go screen, large screen, and then super large screen, I have 4 here, which was the 1200, well, 992 breakpoint over here. So if I go down to 992 about here, it's gonna go from 4 to 3. And that's what we had here. So remember, whatever you see here, that means 12 divided by that will be the number of items in one row. So for my larger screen, 12 by 3, 4 items in a row. Okay, if I go in a medium sized screen, I will have 12 by 4, 3 items in a row. If I go to small size screen, I will have 12 by 6, so 2 items in a row. And finally, if I go to like extra small, I will have 1 item because I have 12 divided by 12, which is 1. And as you can see here, for extra small, we don't have anything, so you don't see like dash extra small dash 12. Okay, it's in the newer version of the Bootstrap. Older versions, I think we did have XS as well. So that's that. And this py4 here, you can play with all these things, by the way, over here, and you can actually see things happening over here. So if I hover over this second container here, which has my row and then my columns, let's say I select this column, see what happens here as I keep things, as I make things bigger. At some point I hit 992 right here. It changed to 992 because I have now call LG. Okay, as I go down, 768 is my call MD. So right there, greater than equal to 768. So you can see things changing in this style as well. For the py4, as I said, this is padding vertical. So if I padding top and bottom, if I remove these guys like be attached to each other. So I wanted to add this. You could like change it to, for example, py 2 or 1. I think it's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So like maybe, let's see, py2. Maybe it's a good time to show you some shortcuts here. When you select something, you will see that VS Code kind of highlights the other elements, the other sections or text in the code that's similar to this text. You can do Command or Control D. So I have Command and then I hit D. I hit another D, 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 D while holding the Command or Control key, and it will select all these guys. Now I can make changes to all of them. So I'm gonna just like backspace or delete and then type py-2 or like py-3 here. Let's see. Now I have py-3, a little bit less padding, but still good. Okay, so that's another cool trick with VS Code. And that's about it. So this is our about section. We can add a little bit of more styling to our about section. Let's see. We can make these separate. So what I'm gonna do, over here I'll do about, and remember it was an ID, so about ID, we're gonna have to have this hashtag instead of dot over here. I'm gonna add the border bottom to it, and similar to what we have in Netflix here, if you check out this right here, this line is a border bottom for this section, for this div, and each div has that border bottom, which is basically this one. You can just technically copy this one over here and then paste it in here, which I am actually going to do it. So here, copy rule, and then paste it over here. Well, that was the whole thing. I just wanted the border bottom, and here could have copied that thing only. And we can add this to our hero section too, so because we want that also be separate from what we have in the about section. So you see, like, I have this one here, and now I have this one for my about section as well. So that looks good to me. You could go ahead and add some like padding to this one as well. And let's see what we have here. This section is about section. Let's go ahead and add actually a padding using the class py that I just talked to you about. Inside my section, I'm gonna have a class also, and then I'm gonna do py2 here and save it. And now we have like a little bit I hope, yep, a little bit padding top and bottom. If I get rid of that, it's, you can see like we did add some padding over here. Feel free to make it bigger, maybe 3 or 4. Let's see, let's do 4 over here. Now we have a little bit more of room over here and down here. So that's about the about section. And this is like just an idea for you guys. You can have like different projects here. And when we do like the work section, maybe that's a better place to talk about projects. But about section, this could be like different pictures of you, or like your pets, whatever you want to have, or like screenshots of anything you want to. So that's good for this video as well. I think we're getting closer. We have the work and contact left, and we'll probably have 2 or 3 more videos until we're done with this portfolio. So make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn the notification bell on, because I will post new videos, and you want to make sure that you get notified when I do that. Alright, thanks guys, and talk to you soon.